Hey guys, Scott from therecordingsolution.com. Recently we talked about one of the first things you do in a mix, one of the first most important things you can do in a mix is to get what's called like a static mix, a gut mix, which just means before you add any EQ or plugins, you get a good balance with just the volume faders here and the pan knobs. So if you can get an optimal balance with the volume faders and the pan knobs and get the song sounding good and grooving and you're bobbing your head and you're liking the way it sounds and you haven't done any EQ or any compression, then that's when you know you need to start adding like EQ and compression to make things a little bit more clear, make the mix less muddy, a little more energy. So I've just finished my static mix, and if you want to go back and watch the video on my YouTube channel, it's called, I don't remember what the title was, but it's like the most important thing you can do when you first start a mix. It's about a gut mix or static mix. I'll probably link to it off this video. I'll put it below the video. But the next step I do is, now that I have everything balanced, kind of a good balance where I want it, I need to start thinking about routing things and adding. I want to start talk about mix bus compression. So right now, I would usually end up like grouping all similar things, and if there's two mics on one guitar, I would like make a master fader. But before I do any of that, what I do is I make a master fader, a global master fader. So on Pro Tools, it's Shift Command N. And then I do one track. I want a stereo aux track, create. Let's put it right here. I'm gonna label it master. Well, essentially, it is every single track is gonna dump into this master fader, and it's gonna be my global control. It's my global volume. If I add any effects, which I'm gonna show you in a minute, we're gonna do mix bus compression. And so I'm gonna make the input of this just the first bus, open bus, rename it master. And then output's going to be my speakers. And then every single track, all the way to the end, I'm going to route through there. So I'm going to hold Shift, Option, and I'm going to just pick one of these tracks and put the output to that bus we just created, master. So now you saw all the outputs right here of these tracks are going through the master fader. So I'm going to solo save that. So when I solo an individual track here, it doesn't solo the master fader. Broken heart is forever mine. Solo save meaning I hit Command click on the S, and it keeps, if I solo one of these instruments, it's not going to solo this fader, and I'll still be able to hear it. So now that they're all routed, I want to add a little bit of compression to the master fader. So what this is going to do is going to just add a little bit of compression to every single track, because they're all routing through this this track and this compressor. So you don't want to go too crazy here. The goal for two bus, stereo bus, or mix bus compression is to add a little bit of glue to your mix and have everything a little bit more cohesive, kind of tame the dynamic peaks, and just make everything sound a little bit more glued together. When you hear people talk about glue, this is what they're talking about. So the key is just to mess around. Typically, you want like a low ratio. The lower ratio, it's less compression, more dynamics. On a master mix bus compressor, you don't want to go crazy and just squash the life out of your mix. So, I mean, I'm gonna go down to maybe even like 2-to-1. 1.5, maybe 2-to-1. I think getting up to 3 and 4 and 5, that's way too much compression for me, in my opinion. And the key is just to play around with it. So I'd start out with the ratio, and then I'm probably gonna have like a medium to a little bit faster attack, just to catch any peaks that kind of poke through. And that's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get like -1, -2 dBs of gain reduction and just catch the peaks. If anything pokes out, I want it to catch it and glue this mix together. And then whatever peaks we catch, it's going to turn down those dynamics, and then we'll be able to just do a minor bit of makeup gain just to even out the dynamics of the song. You want to keep life in there. You're not trying to squash anything, but just glue it together. So I'm going to play the mix, and then I'm just going to mess around with these controls. Main thing is this threshold to see how much compression we're going to get. Broken heart is forever mine. So you have the release set really fast. So you're just seeing the gain reduction just kind of hit -1, -2, almost -3 on some of those peaks. And that's all we're trying to do. I don't want a constant compression going on. Broken hearts forever mine. Yeah, I'm changing lanes to the next town. Changing lanes, turning my life around. Leaving this road. So since we're doing -1 dBs, typically I'm probably going to turn up 1 dB. We'll do a little bit more gain reduction there, but I don't want to turn it up too loud, so maybe just 1 dB up, since we're averaging about -1, -2, -3 there. Broken hearts forever mine. Yeah, I'm changing lanes to the next town. Changing lanes, turning my life around. Leaving this road that I'll take. So the key would be to mix through this. So all your individual track EQ and compression moves are going to be mixing through this compressor. And so it's kind of a constant thing you got to monitor. So when you start turning things up or adding individual effects and processing to each of your individual tracks, kind of every now and then go back and monitor what you're doing on this compressor and see if things are still in the areas that you want them to be in. Okay, so it's a very subtle thing, but it can be very, very powerful and just add a little bit of that cohesiveness of a real song and the glue that you're talking about. So that's kind of how I would set up a mix bus compressor. I would not do too much gain reduction, and I would not do too much compression with the ratio here. So just kiss it, and you can even do it with, like, if you see the ones with the meters, I like using this one, FGF Red, I believe it is. And I actually have a preset that I took from Lord Alge. Saw what he was doing on a video, and so what he's got, Lord Alge is a very famous mixer. Look him up. He's done some of the rock albums and all kinds of stuff, iconic rock albums. So he's got a 1.5 ratio, kind of a fast attack, so he's catching the peaks very quick. He's got an auto release here, and then you just adjust the threshold until I get, like, just kissing that -1 dBs of gain reduction there. So check this out. Broken hearts forever mine. Yeah, I'm changing lanes to the next town. Changing lanes, turning my life around. Leaving this road that I'll take. Yeah, I'm changing lanes. Yeah, I'm changing lanes. It's very subtle, but it kind of glues things together. And again, you mix through this, so all your individual processing moves on all the individual tracks are going to be affected and running through this. So just keep that in mind and come back every now and then and monitor your settings here, so you're not like getting 6 dBs, 7 dBs of gain reduction, because that would be ridiculous on your stereo bus. So there you go. Try it on your next mix. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, comment, share with your friends. Sign up for the free ebook, our EQ chart on the site. There'll be some links here you can grab those at. You'll also be added to my email list, where you will get all kinds of cool tips and tricks, tutorials delivered straight to your inbox. Thanks for watching. Scott from therecordingsolution.com. See you on the other side.